Welcome everyone. We'll allow a couple minutes to let everyone into the webinar today. Well, welcome. My name is Noemi Guevara, and we're so glad you're able to join us today for our next edition of the 49er Industry Chats. I am the Director of Alumni Engagement here at Cal State Long Beach. Before we start our great session scheduled for us today, I would like to let you know that this is being recorded and it will live on our website at csulb.edu/alumni. For today's discussion, we encourage you to use our Q&A box located below if you have any questions throughout the chat for our guest speaker. And now I'd like to introduce to you our moderator. Kim Armstrong is a three-time alumna from Cal State Long Beach. She graduated in 1988, 1991, and 1994. And she currently serves as our Vice President for the CSULB Alumni Council. Thank you, Kim, so much for moderating today, and the floor is yours.
Awesome, thank you. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Thumbs up on the sound. Wonderful. Welcome everybody that's out there. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Before we introduce our speaker, again, I do want to just reiterate what Noemi said, and don't forget, please put your questions in the Q&A box. We really need your questions. It makes it a lot of fun to have your questions. And so I will keep my eye out for those questions, and I might just jump in and drop them in. So don't worry, we're going to try to get to all of them as we can. Now I have this, it's a great honor. When I saw this one come out, I was really intrigued. So I can't wait to learn myself. The topic of having it all, bringing your avocation to your occupation, really hit me right in my heart. Our speaker today, Robert Burns, has over 30 years experience working with clients to meet their goals by implementing sound investment strategies based on logic over emotion, which I love the sound of that, and structure over prediction. In addition to a finance degree from the beach, he holds a certified financial planner, which is the CFP in his name, and the Accredited Investment Fiduciary, which is the AIF. So I didn't know those definitions, so I'm intrigued. Thank you I appreciate learning that. And has several professional certifications. He's a member of the Estate Planning Council of South Orange County and has served as its president. So Robert has held various leadership roles, and since he and his team has joined, I wanna say it's Stifel, in 2008 with the opening of their San Juan Capistrano office. He's a member of the San Clemente Rotary and serves as the community service board member, as well as chairperson of the South Coast Singers Stars of Tomorrow vocal competition. Wow, and we have you for this 45 minutes to an hour, Robert. Thank you, welcome.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Very, very excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, hey, so do you want to, maybe we can kind of dive in,
Sure.
And maybe share with us, a little bit about your background, your education, and how did you get into this field? And then we're going to be dying to know a little and how it all connects. So
Sure.
Yeah.
So I started Cal State Long Beach in 1978. It took me 7 years to graduate. I had 4 different majors. I dropped out. I started out as an accounting major, and I went through intermediate accounting, and I had this huge epiphany in the middle of accounting that was very significant. And my first thing to all the students out there is you got to know who you are as a person. And one of them was, it was like I had this professor, and he's talking about cost accounting and debits and credits and FASB rule number this. And I looked, the girl next to me was diligently taking notes. The guy left of me diligently taking notes. And I started breathing real heavily. And I literally took my pencil and went to the girl next to me. I go, would you stick this in my eye? And she started laughing. I go, don't worry. I left her going, I need to change my major. I go, I could not see spending my life with accounting, fitting into boxes and time frames. I go, I was like, that's not me. So then I went to computers, because, you know, back in the 80s, everything was started to be really computer oriented. No, I went to French. I started taking French
Oh,
and really enjoyed French, and found languages really good. And then, but then you start going, you can't really make money. So then I went back to computers. Then at Cal State Long Beach, I did something what was really awesome was you could take a lot of other classes besides what's in your curriculum. So I was always would take a couple, maybe a PE class or something. And well, I always wanted to learn how to dance. So I firstly braved a social ballroom dance. The next semester, I braved a tap dance class. And then I braved a jazz dance class. And then this girl asked me, hey, do you want to try out for a musical? Sure, why not? And that, so say yes more than often than no. That's one of my things. So I tried out for a musical, changed my life. Theater has been at the cornerstone of my life ever since my first tap dance class at Cal State Long Beach. I accredited it for actually, I was never a sports guy. It gave me, my number one avocation is theater arts, giving back to the community, giving back to kids. I go to New York at least probably once, twice a year to go see shows. I do improv, I sing, I dance. And that all started from my willing to say yes to something that I always thought I would never have done it in high school. Boys didn't do that in my high school. It changed my life. So now, fast forward, I changed my majors, accounting, kill me, French, to computers, to dropping out to try to be an actor up in LA, right? In fact, I should have found it. I have something from the, what is the magazine called? The 49er, something like
yeah.
that. I used to work on Rodeo Drive, and they did like a one-piece article of me working on Rodeo Drive as a struggling actor on there. I just came
Awesome.
across it too bad I didn't remember. But then after a couple of years, I decided there's got to be more to life than being an actor. And I said, I want to go back. And then I really decided, who am I as a person? I go, what motivates me? And I go, I did want to live near the beach. I wanted to be able to have a high income. I wanted to be able to travel and afford things like that. But who am I as a person? I found out through my accounting as I go, I am not one that works in a very good hierarchy and structure. And I feel, when I'm in structure, I feel suffocated. Some people like that. So then I met my wife, and somebody asked me, oh, how's your acting career going? I go, I quit. I went back to Cal State Long Beach and decided, I went and investigated careers. So I became very intentional about where I was going, what career I picked. So it had to have these qualitative issues about the more harder I worked, the more I made. I didn't want to work in a hierarchy where I had to suck up to for my next promotion, which is fine. I mean, I don't want to talk down about that. That's fine for people. That's not me. And so I came across, being back then a stockbroker. I had met a guy, Rocky Soares, who's a Cal State Long Beach graduate, and his sister was in my HR class back then. And she said, oh, you should meet my brother. I left that meeting saying, this is what I want to do. So luckily for me, I had 4 different majors, but I've had one career. And most students don't do that. They have one major, they get through it in 4 years, and then they go from career to career where they're learning about themselves. I did it. So one's not more right than the other. This worked out great for me because I feel going from accounting to computers to French to theater made me a more well-rounded person. And it gave me life experience that I get to bring into my career every day on that. So I had a finance degree with an investment major and went right to work for Merrill Lynch. And so I've been doing this for 33, I graduated in 1986, 34 years, coming up in October. And it's been a great career so far. So 2 years at Merrill Lynch, 2 years at Shearson, 18 years at A.G. Edwards. Wachovia took over A.G. Edwards, and I've been here 11 years with Stifel.
Stifel, sorry.
And we never get insulted if somebody says Stifel, Stifel, Stifel. It's like whatever you want it to be.
It's important. Sorry, we got it. We didn't get it right the first time. Wow. I think that is such a curious journey. And you know, thinking about it, you know, I mean, I somewhat relate to that because when I was in school, I also did musical theater. So there is that connection of that release. You know, you talked about it, you know, thinking about who you are as a person, right? You had that moment, you thought about that. I think I'm going to go right now kind of to the obvious question, perhaps that folks might be having on their mind, is in that how is COVID impacting all that for you? Are you seeing, is it sort of shifting some of your thoughts? Is it kind of driving you back, you know, to basics on really figuring out, you know, is that who you are? Because I'll tell you, some folks, I know for myself, it's really caused a lot of introspection. Are you willing to share anything about sort of maybe any of the impact of COVID on that?
Oh, completely. And I think that this is, again, for the younger people, this is an important lesson, is because you have to take the world as it is, not how you want it to be. And COVID is just another situation. As I said, I'm of the age where I first started my career, months after I started my career, we had the market crash of '87. Then we had Orange County going bankrupt. Then we had the internet bubble burst. Then we had 9/11. Then we had the Great Recession. So this is just one thing so that's life. Not only are those big issues, but you have personal issues. And again, we can get into this about the qualitative nature, is that time is a one-way street and it goes faster than you think. When you look at it at my age, you're looking at it as from a young 20-year-old, you're going to go like that and say, oh my God, I'm a bald guy sitting in an office. Scary stuff. So COVID is just one thing, but it's a big thing. It's a generational thing. Everybody, like 9/11, everybody knows where they were 9/11, and it was a big change. COVID's going to be your thing. So whether I love people who got married during this time, because even if they decided to go ahead and get married or put it off, they're going to tell their kids, we now have a story. We got married during COVID, and this is what was happening. So I've embraced it. I'm normally an overscheduled person, and I have a lot of irons in the fire. So I've had to pull back. I've had to accept that I'm not seeing as many people. My social sphere has become very, very small. I see a handful of people every day in my office. I see my family, and I see people on Zoom. Thank goodness for Zoom. So this is where, again, I've embraced Zoom. Accept that out of every crisis, there's a new normal that develops, that that you couldn't think that it was there, but it becomes there. Think how fast technology had to shove through. So for a company like Stifel, who has thousands of people working in offices and at the home office, within a week, we had to go completely remote. How did we do that? Well, necessity is the mother of all invention. In crisis, people rise to the challenge and things change. Well, what are we finding? Well, we're finding that a lot of people could be very productive remotely. You have people in big cities like my son and his husband, controversy, lives up in San Francisco, right? My son-in-law is an attorney. My son works for McKinsey. They literally are working from 8 till 5, even beyond, remotely. They don't have to go in the office, and they're being very productive. There's a lot of companies that are going to be making decisions about allowing more people to do that on there. So I think that's going to become a new norm for us. As I said, senior citizens wanting to see their grandchildren have become very adept at using Zoom. They get to come into my office. I get to come in their home. I had a set of clients that I hadn't seen in years. They moved to Nevada, and we decided to do a Zoom meeting. They're ecstatic because it was like we get to see each other versus a phone call. We've always done phone reviews. So embrace new technology. The other thing is I'm appreciating the simplicity of life. I'm appreciating that when my son and my partner, his wife, and my daughter, who flew home from New York to move into our hotel with free laundry service, we have, she's 27. We play card games. We play backgammon, right? We watch a movie. We cook a lot. We bake bread. I bake bread. I garden. I do heirloom tomatoes. So that's what I talk about. My title is having your occupation and your avocation. So I'm using these times. I'm taking an improv class. You do what you can. Accept it. Don't. There's a great saying I love: resistance causes persistence, and a lot of people can't get their hands around what does that mean. What it means is that if you resist COVID, for example, and get angry about it and stuff like that, the resisting of it creates this thing that it doesn't go away. It becomes the source of anxiety and stress and everything. Once you can accept it and release it, you open yourself up to what else is out there. What can I create in my life? Is there a hobby I've always meant to do? Are there relationships? How can I'm actually talking to more people because I'm not on the freeway traveling so much. Side benefit. Unintended consequences, embrace it, let it go.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. And the baking bread, yes, I actually ventured into the foray of baking bread.
I was a trendsetter. I've had my own starter for years. Yes.
Well, yeah, try to find the right kind of wheat or flour right now. I went to like 5 stores. Anyway, that's a whole nother,
yes.
We should do our own Zoom on how to bake bread.
Come to my kitchen. Do that. We'll come to my kitchen and we'll do a Zoom.
That's what we should do. That'll be our next one, alumni team. We're going to do baking bread with alumni, and we can all share our recipes.
Right.
Wow, this is great. So maybe let me ask. Maybe take us through maybe a typical day now as in the role you're in, because I think folks are interested. Like, I mean, I will be honest. I'm intrigued looking at your video now because I'm like, he's in an office. Look at me. You're seeing my house behind me, right? And I'm thinking, oh my God, where's the best place today? It would be somewhere different. Would you walk us through? I think a lot of folks maybe might be curious about your day.
Well, yeah, my professional life, I'm a financial planner. So my job is to really I have a very established practice. I'm very fortunate. Just let me backtrack a little bit at who I am. I grew up in Long Beach. I grew up on Wardo and Studebaker. Everybody I grew up with was aerospace workers, policemen, firemen, teachers. Most of the women were stay-at-home moms. I grew very simple background, right? I didn't know what a stockbroker was. I didn't have any money. And that actually it was kind of weird. It's kind of, I had to do a big mental growth thing for me to accept the fact that I deal with larger sums of money. So I help people who have either come into money, retiring from a public company, inherited money, make decisions. And the older you get, the more you become more risk averse because you understand time and that you're not going to get that time to earn it back. So you want to make good decisions with this. There will always be a need for people. There will always be people who want and need a relationship, who need to delegate certain parts of their life. I delegate a lot of part of my life. Like I don't fix my cars. I don't trim my bushes. There's a lot I don't do. I delegate my incompetencies there. A lot of people shouldn't be dealing with the market because they don't have the emotional wherewithal to do it. They also don't have the emotional temperament. They don't have the experience. It would be foolhardy for a woman who just lost her husband at 75 years old and he's taking care of everything for him to do it. I have a lot of executive professional clients who it would be foolish for them to spend that much time when they're more effective in the areas that their level, sphere of knowledge. So that's what we do is we put together financial plans so people can sleep at night. One of our basic tenets to our practice is life is about relationships and experiences. And you will get so much more joy out of jet skiing or watching a grandchild play soccer or going on a trip to Mammoth or wherever than what Fox News is reporting about the market today. So we put together plans, we teach our clients, we advocate for our clients, we counsel our clients. So what I had to learn is that for me, I am not, people say, oh, you must be good at math. It's not the math element that I'm good at. I've always been good with money. Ever since I was a little tight, 12 years old, I was the guy raking leaves and stuff. But what I'm good at is communication and caring and being able to to help that widow or that new person who just inherited money wrap a warm blanket around them, saying it's going to be okay. We've got this for you. So taking a stand on their behalf. So what was my question? I can't remember.
Oh, well, I like where you're going, because I'm gonna circle now. Kind of, you kind of answered it, but I'm gonna come in aside with a couple other questions. Before I get to one that just came in to my Q&A. So do you think that some of the classes that you did, whether it was your improv class or some of your theater classes, I think it like makes you a little bit different than a typical financial planner, right? That's really like staunch and perhaps boring. I don't know, but numbers driven. I mean, do you think there's some things you might recommend to the folks that are on to say, hey, maybe think about this and it might help shift?
That's where I talk about marrying your avocation with occupation.
Yeah.
Don't be embarrassed about who you are. Be authentic who you are. Don't shy away from that. You are perfect the way you are. Now you got to find the career. For example, let me use my wife. My wife and my assistant, my main assistant here, they're very much alike. They are very sequentially oriented. They like square pegs and square holes, round holes and round boxes. They like their calendars. They like, my assistant doesn't miss a detail. Well, you know, here I miss detail. Everyone in my office knows, do not leave a piece of paper that needs to come back to you on my desk. You may never see it again. So it's understanding. So everybody's perfect the way they are. You're perfect the way you are. But also take the time to be this, we're fully evolved people. We don't leave the office and become different people. Be who you are, whether if I'm at the poker table, if I'm at gardening, if people see me on the street. I used to think that I had to conform when I was early on in my career I had to be a stockbroker. I had to be a certain way. And so I put on this air and it got too much. I go, I can't do it. I'm not that good of an actor. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to be me, right? No one does me better than myself. And so I decided this is who I am. And I took personality tests. So if you haven't done Myers-Briggs, DISC personality, I've done them all. Find out if you're a blue, green, fast starter, quick starter, a D or an I. That's all helpful information so you know who you are as a person. And then when you're going out for a job, you go look for the job you want based on who you are. Don't go online and say, oh, they're hiring, I'll go fit me into their box. No, you go out and say, here's who I am as a person. Here are my likes, my experiences, what I want out of my life, where I want to have it. And then go say, now who are the employers that match who I am? And then go use LinkedIn and whatever and start meeting the people that are in those jobs. Don't wait I can tell you the worst jobs are the ones that they have to go hunt people and they always have ads on there because they're having turnover. The best jobs are going to be the ones introduced to you by your friends. Once you go research and hear about a startup company, you start here and you go online and say, hey, I read about your company. I'm wondering if there's any opportunity there for me, right? What a different conversation you have. So
to follow on that trend,
yeah, thank you.
I got a good question that came in since you talked about sort of which jobs to look for, or which ones not. A couple of questions came in I think are interrelated. One, like what might be some tips that you can offer to the students about to get in the industry, and sort of how did you get your foot in the door, and what steps did you take once you decided to become a financial planner, that you settled that that's where you wanted to be?
Yeah, great question, because again, it has to do with it's easy then it's hard. Understanding is I went through all this 7 years of finding out who I am. I was older. I was 25, 20 at this time. So I wasn't a younger, and sometimes I think the educational service, academia tries to get you to do your major right away. And I didn't know who I was. at that time. So I was different. So I picked one job. And once you understand who you are, it's great because you get to eliminate a lot, right? So you start, I call it stealth opportunism, is start honing in. So once I knew that I wanted to be a stockbroker, I went and I declared my major, finance investments. Before I graduated, I looked up I wanted to work for the big firms, Merrill Lynch, Payne Weber, these firms are no longer here. A lot of these firms, and I found out who the branch managers are. I did a resume, I did a cover letter, and before I graduated, I had those things going out. Because my wife was pregnant at the time too. So I better get cracking. She expects daddy to bring home a paycheck. So I literally, from all of LA, Orange County, I had letters going out to there. This is so interesting, Cal State Long Beach connection, because and then I followed up with phone calls. I would talk to the manager. Hey, Mr. Smith, I sent you a resume. Want to see if you're interviewing trainees, if I can come in. Most people said no. Most people said, you don't have experience. Go out and get some experience and come back. Well, I said, no, my wife's pregnant. I don't have the time to go out and get experience. I know what I want to do. And so finally, and a manager told me this is you'll get a manager that likes projects, likes to take risk with trainees. You'll find somebody. Keep going. Sure enough, in Fullerton, your Cal State Fullerton, the branch manager of Merrill Lynch, he had hired a Cal State Long Beach guy about 2 years prior and really liked him again. And then he hired another guy about 6 months prior to me from Cal State Long Beach. And what he noted, he liked the work ethic. He liked that we didn't come with a silver spoon in our mouths, and that we worked hard, right? So working hard, listen people, working hard trumps entitlement. So, right? So he said, I'll give this guy, and plus I called him, so he waited for me to call him. I'll give this guy a try, I'll interview him. He interviews me and he told me, he said, the reason you're here is because 2 other Cal State Long Beach people, I've had really good successes. And out of all those people back from 1986, 1987, we're the only 3 that I know that are still in the business from that time. We were all, successful, and we all became branch managers too. Ooh, leadership. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So well, thank you for sharing that. I think you're hitting on things. So tell us a little bit. So you gave us some good insight about how you figured out how you got into what you wanted to do, and some tips on how to get in the door. So how did you build your clientele and have your clients move with you when you move companies? So do you take your book with you, I guess, and how did you build that book?
Again, you have to build your reputation. So again, you guard your character like crazy. And whether you're away from work, at work, you got to be honest, you got to be truthful, you got to be caring, got to invest in knowledge, all those things. You want to make yourself as attractive as possible. But at the same time, back then, I cold called. I literally got the phone, and at the time, because I didn't come from money. The first half hour out of training, I hit up my family. Okay, now what? Well, I got people I knew to get me directories from McDonnell Douglas, the aerospace firms at the time, Hughes. My mother heisted an employee directory. She worked at the medical department of Edison, and she got me the directory that showed their ages and years, so I can call all the old people who were retiring. Literally cold calling. Hi, my name is Robert Burns. I'm a financial consultant with Merrill Lynch, and I work with people who are thinking about retirement from Southern California, Edison. And I have this brochure that I'd like to send you. If that's sure, send me it. Oh, when do you think you're going to retire? And I'd have little index cards, and I had this long steel case of index cards, and I would write notes and I would send it out, and I would, tick follow up in 3 weeks. So I put it in 3 weeks, and I created this list. And so that people say, does cold calling work? It doesn't if you don't do it. So everything works and everything doesn't. This is where one of the things I would encourage all students to do, take an improv class. One of the benefits of improv is that you train your mind. The number one rule in improv is say yes and. We are trained, and a lot of people get trained to say no. No, wait, I want to find out. First, tell me about it, then I'll tell you if I'm going to say yes. In improv, you learn no, yes, and so you get very comfortable with going into not expecting to have all the answers and being comfortable with, I don't need all the answers. I'm still going to have a great time no matter what. Check your negativity. Do a lot of work. Read those books that back then in my days, First Things First, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Learn what successful people do. In the main part of my practice is called a successful investor mindset. To be a successful investor, you have to have the right mindset. Well, to be successful in your career, you have to, it's like a checkup from your neck up. Learn, do you let negative seeds of doubt, do you believe press that have been told about you? Like I used to believe that that I wasn't good enough to, because I wasn't athletic, right? I'm you know, these, ooh, look at those fists. I'm not that. It was something that I had to learn to say, no, that's a tape that I believe in, and I pit a race. And so instead, we all have pasts and experiences and hurts that we bring to our present that affect what we do on a day-to-day basis. To be successful in my career, I had to say, based on, I want to be $1 million producer, I want to be a highly successful in my field. Now, what do I have to do? What do I have to be? And believe that I be good enough for that. And so that's what I had to do a lot. So I was mediocre, I'd say, for the first 10 years of my career until I hired a business coach who was able to hold a mirror up to me and say, look how ridiculous it is. How am I self-sabotaging myself? I self-sabotage because I felt that I was this simple guy from Long Beach. So how dare I think that I could earn a 6-figure income when all I knew was firemen, policemen, construction workers, right? I had to realize that I'm not different. And so the way I sabotage myself is I wouldn't return phone calls. I would tell somebody I'll follow up in 2 weeks. I'd follow up in 6 weeks. Well, what did that do? That put a seed of doubt in their mind going, wow, well, this guy doesn't follow up very well, right? So until I owned my outcome and owned who I was being, so I have a formula for success. Your results, your R equals who you be times what you do. So everybody can tell, like, okay, I have to make a certain amount of cold calls, certain amount of contacts, but who am I being? So that takes a little bit more introspection of doing that. So I did that, and within 1 year, I went from mediocre to becoming chairman's club level on there. And what happened is Edison had an early retirement program. I was always dealing with Edison, and the floodgates opened. The difference is that instead of taking the foot off the accelerator and saying, oh, I'm okay being mediocre, as I said, why can't I be excellent? And I chose excellence, and I pushed forward. And that's become a theme of my life ever since. I've done Mount Whitney for 5 years. I said, I'm not getting in my own way. If I state it, I want it. And that's from hiring a business coach, learning about myself. So don't be afraid. It's not a sign of weakness to have somebody reflect back to you on how you are getting in your own way.
Wow, yeah, that's powerful. That kind of personal board of directors thing. I know I
Yes.
do something similar where you have a group of people and you can just bring it and they can be really candid with you. So you mentioned improv, and yes, I would be totally 100% involved in that.
Yes.
So, and communications being, your strong qualities, right? That helped you with that. What other skills, and we got a question about this. What other skills do you think are necessary to be successful in your field? And then how do you continue to learn, and or do you need to learn and continue to do it to be successful?
No, and again, one of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I think highly effective people, and again, if you care about your clients, you take a stand that I'm going to be the most proficient person in my career, and that takes education. Don't wait to be spoon-fed what you need to do your job. In fact, I, as a branch manager, talk aware about getting my underwear in a twist or a burr in my underwear is have somebody have me spoon feed you the information that I had to go out and read and research and stuff like that, whether it be tax law changes. As I become a state planning council of South Orange County, I'm their past president. Those rules on estate planning didn't just, somebody didn't implant them in my brain. I had to go learn them. I had to go meet professionals. So I had to go out intentionally and become a certified financial planner. It wasn't my boss saying, we want you to do this. No, I did it because not only do I want to do it for my own self-worth, because I want to be top of my career, but my clients deserve to be dealing with a person who's proficient and caring and at the top of their game, not the lower part of their game. I became an accredited investment fiduciary because I wanted to show my clients that I do more. All of those things, by the way, in our career, you have so much continuing education. It's mind blowing. And they never, my insurance license and my investment plan in AIF and CF, they don't merge. I have to do this one and that one. I go, can you guys just let me take credit for that? So, but I do it willingly to separate myself from everybody else.
Wow. Yeah, it's a lot of continuing education and lots to focus on. I see another question that we have is around, so what are you seeing sort of as, and this may be a tough one, so you'll have to get out your crystal ball, but I know, dig it out. You probably have one. If you pull one out, yes, I love it. So yeah, get the crystal ball. We have some folks asking about sort of what you're thinking the future forecast might look like in the industry for positions, jobs, entry level, where is it going?
Okay, so no doubt that there's been a huge, this industry that has been in through this evolution since I've been in it. Technology has impacted it like crazy. So 20 years ago in the internet bubble, they were talking to us like my career is going to be dead, right? Everybody's going to be able to do it themselves. We don't need an advisor. Well, we found out that people hurt themselves, and some people aren't good at it. Some people don't want to do it, right? So looking in my crystal ball 20 years, there will always be the need for people who are professional and caring that people can go to and say, help me with this issue because I'm not very good at it. So by the way, if you're looking at this as a career, there's two sides. If you're in the advisory role, you have to be good with people. You have to be good at creating relationships. Or there's more the research side. If you want to be a portfolio analyst, that's going out and getting your master's. And that's a person who is not wanting to build a book or not so relational based. That's fine. And there's the administrative, the compliance part of it. So if you were like my wife or my assistant who likes things sequentially, know that that's the part of the career that you'll want to go look after. And they're both all great on there. So again, I keep forgetting my questions. Sorry.
It was sort of around what's the future forecast looking like in the industry and for jobs and getting jobs right now.
Right now, everybody's saying, we're going to be using ETFs, or we have all these wallet apps and things like that. But day to day, like we have one of our newest clients is a pop singer, right? He does not want to know anything. He wants to be making music and that's it. But he wants to know that he has a team of people that he really feels comfortable talking with, that he knows that has it. So there'll always be people like that. And that's what we learned out of the internet, the tech boom back in the early 2000s, is that you can't replace a relationship. You can't, it's like, you look at my house, we're wired, but I don't wire anything. I like having it wired, but I'm not going to do it. I call people for that.
That's awesome.
Specialization, I think, is the best word. And you choose whether you make yourself obsolete or not. So
good point.
Pick a career that you're going, I'm going to make myself of value.
Good point. Good point. So we have a question. Thinking back, were you involved in any student organizations? And if you were, or do you have any thoughts for any of the current students to become involved on campus? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, I would encourage you to mainly look, especially in your career areas. So if you're a nursing student, Nurses Association. If you're in the business or finance, or if you're accounting, go to accounting. If you're finance, fine. Start learning about your field. Start kicking the tires. That's how you do it. So whatever group, affinity group, helps you to do that. Also, if there is a social group that, whether it is theater arts, what are some of the poker? I mean, I love poker, right? So get involved with poker, a service club, people that you can connect with, because those are going to be your advocates when you're out looking for a job or you're having to make a career change. It's the people with whom you've had a relationship for many years, who know you, in your underwear, who you can go to saying, hey, here's what's happening in my life. Do you know anybody in this industry, anybody in this company? Those are going to be your go-to people. Or they're the ones who are going to go, you want to do what? No, you don't want to do that. I remember telling my nephew, he wanted to be an accounting major, and he's more like me. And I'm like, Dylan, we need to have a talk. And I started talking to him. I said, Dylan, I know you, and this is what I'm going to reflect back to you. You know what he does for a living now? He's a competitor of mine. How dare he?
That's awesome.
And
That's
he went to USC.
Well, I know. Oof. Yeah. Well, we are, I mean, this time is going by so quickly. Maybe a couple things to kind of bring us near the end. So if you're willing to share, what more might you want to do in your professional career, and sort of what's next?
Oh, yeah. Don't tell my wife. Yeah, I'm 60 years old. I just turned 60, and I am looking at, what do I want the rest of my life to look like? I have a very established practice. My son is taking over. He's my junior partner. Someday he'll be partner. So I do want to, let's see. If you look at my list here, I go, I'd like to be a screenwriter. I'd like to be on a sitcom. I'm thinking of running for Congress because I don't like what's happening in the Republican Party. I'm looking at writing what's the new Republican agenda here. So I'm not sure, and that's a good thing, is I don't have to, but I know I'm in control of it. And so I will look at, I'm embracing, I'm trying to be healthy, trying to do all those things. I really want to talk also about, if I may share some, my message to all of you is, life is a one-way ticket. It only goes that way, and you can't get it back. And it's faster than you think, and it gets compressed at the end. You think you have a lot of time. My dad gave me some great advice. He said, there's never a perfect time to buy a house or get married or have kids. And if you look back, and when I go, how dare I become a financial consultant, Merrill Lynch, with no experience? How dare I get married after 1 year of dating my wife? How dare I have a baby at 25 without owning a home or married or even graduating? I was a waiter, and my wife was a checker in a grocery store, and we're having a baby. how irresponsible about it. You look back now, and I wouldn't give back any decision. Embrace your life and know that it's going to go one way. Embrace the relationships you have, because the people around you, family and stuff like that, that's who's going to be there for you. Be that fully integrated person of have your career, but you have your spiritual life, your friends, your family, your career. All of those things can be fully integrated. Be the 100% integrated best person you can be. And I mean, I look back on what I set out to do when I was in 1987, when I got hired at Merrill Lynch, and where I am now. It is better than I could have conceived at that time. But it only became because my head and heart was open to those things. Where I stand for I hope I have 25 years, because I hope to be a grandfather. My kids seem to be frustrating me on that level. They seem to have so I hope they hear this message that time, get cracking. But who knows? I literally, it's exciting. It's nice to have those options though. That again is the other thing about your career is you've got to handle your career as when you're young and make sure you're dialed in. So when you become 55 and 60 years old, you have prerogative. You have the choice to say, I don't have to work as hard. I've got it set. You don't want to be a 70-year-old having to go and putting your resume out there because you haven't saved for the future. You haven't made a reputation that make people want to track you, right? So your reputation, all of that.
Wow. This was amazing. I feel honored to have gotten to spend this time with you and ask you these questions, and so open and candid about your experience in your life. And it was very inspiring. I think looking at some of the video, all the smiles, this was so inspiring. And I love your one key, you said so many things, but guarding your character. And I think you brought that home toward the end there. So I'm going to say, wow, thank you. This was amazing.
Yeah, I enjoyed my time.
Wow.
Anytime I can pontificate,
Yeah.
I'm there for you.
Thank you. With that, of course, next time we're going to do baking bread with Robert and Kim. We'll each have our recipes, but until then, thank you, Noemi. I'm going to send it back to you. Thank you.
Feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Kim, for very interesting talk. Definitely, we could possibly do an Instagram live with you baking. That would be awesome. But before we go, Robert, are you on LinkedIn where our alumni could reach out to you?
You bet, I am. So feel free to reach out and ask questions, and I'd love to talk to young people.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for allowing us to connect with you on LinkedIn. Thank you again, everyone, for connecting with us today. And just a reminder, this session was recorded and it'll be uploaded on our website. And follow us on social media at CSULB Alumni to learn about future programs like this. Thank you.
Bye.